What we are going to talk about now, it's IoT, okay? Internet of the Things. And I don't know why they asked me to do this, but I'm going to try to explain you what is it. Because myself struggled a little bit in the beginning, because I was searching on the web, Internet of the Things, and we heard it from the manufacturers, etc. And it seems such a big thing, so complicated. And we talked about earlier with João Almeida. And if you speak with all the manufacturers, you're going to see many different concepts, many things, okay? So I'm trying to sum it up for you guys, okay? So, Internet of the Things, it's a network of physical objects. That's the basic concept. That's what you need to understand first. The purpose is to connect all different objects. Before I start explaining to you how it works, I'm going to give you a little bit of the history of Internet of the Things. So the concept was first early discussed in 1982, yeah, where they modified a Coca-Cola vending machine. What they've done was change it to connect it to the Internet and to report the temperature and the stock. Something that nowadays it seems very, very easy, very, very common. But they did it in 1982. But they didn't call it Internet of the Things. Okay, that came later. Okay, when a company connected a serial of physical devices through RFID. That's when the term was first used, and that was around 1999. So you're going to understand that for this little piece of history, that the basic fundamentals of Internet of the Things is to connect physical devices, identify them uniquely, for the computer to be able to manage them. Because if a computer can connect and identify to something, you can manage it. Okay? So, how does that happen? Basically, first you need to sense the object. Okay? If you can sense and if you can identify the object uniquely, you'll be able to manage, like I said before. Not you, of course, but a computer. And that's the first challenge. You've heard before, again, João Almeida talked to you about 24 billion of devices. How can you identify on a network 24 billion of devices? So that's where IPv6 comes in, okay? That's what's going to allow us in the future to identify so many devices. And you could have also that problem locally, of course, right? How can I identify objects locally instead of a network? Well, that comes in what we already know. RFID, barcodes, QR codes, and in the past few years, also NFC. But what started as a network of physical objects now has NFC, RFID, IPv6, et cetera, et cetera. So you can start imagining how hard is the task of identifying the world. That's basically the purpose of IoT, identify the world. And it's a small task, as you can imagine. It's very easy to identify the world, right? But once you understand the concept of identification and to make everything available and to know the status of this, the status of that, no, this is that device, no, that's the other device, you can see that the business opportunities are infinite. The appliances of it are infinite. You have it nowadays. You have the smartphones, you have smart houses, you have smart production lines, et cetera, et cetera. So it's up to us to be smart and to identify the business opportunities. Again comes the second part of the problem, which is, okay, I know what it is, I know how I can use it, but how can I make an application to actually benefit from this technology? Well, that's where Calypso comes in. You have a first layer of, let me see the point, of hardware where you can have the sensors, built-in sensors. We've seen this already, right? Calypso can connect to the built-in sensors of the operating system. Then you have IoT platforms. You have Zatar, you have Azure, like we saw before. We have a little board there that I'm going to show you later from Domatica, which is a partner of SysDev. We'll get in details later. Basically, the concept of these platforms is that they do the hard part. They collect the data. And they made it available, the data, on a network. So you just need to say, okay, I want to get the value of, I want to get the temperature, and do something with it. So, and again, locally, RFID and NFC, which we've already covered up today. So this data goes up to Calypso. And when you are in the Calypso level, you have data collection apps, simple data collection apps. Doesn't need to have user interface or whatever. Just connect it to the production line and collecting data. Okay, 10 cars, 20 cars, 13 cars, et cetera, et cetera. So getting data from the sensors. And then you have the decision-making apps. The decision-making apps are applications that will react to the data, right? Let's think about a temperature sensor. You can sense temperature, and if the temperature rises, you're going to turn on the AC. Pretty basic example that you probably would have in your homes. But think about industrial appliances to this kind of stuff. Okay, it's endless. And then, of course, normal user interface apps like the one we've done before today that interacts with the user. I want to do this, I want to do that, etc. So you want to collect, you want to warn the user, you want to react, etc., etc. All of this is possible in Calypso. So now that we know a little bit, I hope, more about IoT, let's start with a practical example. So I'm going to pass it on here a little bit. Philippe, can you go to the designer in the meanwhile? So what I have here is a board. It's represented here today. Pedro Pina, could you please stand up? Please, Candy Pizza. Thank you very much for bringing the board. Okay. Okay. Basically, what this board does is it has a bunch of sensors to demonstrate the features that we're going to do, and it makes them available on a network, just like we saw before. It's an IoT platform, so all these sensors are available, and we can get the values, and you can also interact with the board. So we can simply get the temperature, or we can say, okay, I want to line it up the lamp, etc., etc. So what we are going to do with this is we're going to make an app to manage that board. I just want to let you know before we move forward that this concept that we are going to implement now, it's common to most IoT platforms, okay? So again, they collect the data, they put it available on the network. All you have to do is get the data or say, I want to do something, and you inject that into the network. Like it was mentioned before, this is done through an HTTP interface, so you can get data. So you do an HTTP get, or you can say, I want to do this. So you do an HTTP post. These are also called REST services, like you've heard already before. And this basically is the future, just like it was told by Microsoft. Philippe, could you please close it up and open it again because the resolution was changed while it was open, or like that? No, it was already okay, but yeah, it recovered, just to make sure nothing goes out of the screen. So, in our first example, we're going to turn on a lamp on that board. So, Philippe is going to create a form for us to interact. So, the first thing we need to know to interact with that board, it's its IP address. You already know it, of course. So it's going to store in a variable to make our life easier, because each time we need to make a request to the board, we need to specify, I want to do an HTTP request into that IP address. So it's going to save it to make our life easier. And now it's going to create a button, a switch button, to turn on and off the light. Simple. we already saw the switch button today. He's so perfectionist. He's going to put a label. Imagine it. That's why Calypso is so good, because he's perfectionist. So basically, when the user checks, so when he turns on the switch button, you're going to make an HTTP request onto that IP address. And he's going to load the object that he needs to call. You know, an HTTP request, right? It's the IP address or the number, and then the slash, and then something slash something. OK, so you already have that information compiled. Of course, you're not going to search for it. So he needs to go to the light and check out the address. And he's also checking out which port the board is operating on. So he's going to copy the object. Basically, can you hold it on a minute, please? So C, this identifies the object in this case, and this is the status of the object. So we're setting it to 1. Okay?
You don't need to know these details.
Yeah.
This is documentation from Domatica. They told me that. Okay? You don't need to know IDs.
Yeah, we didn't have to find this. No, they've provided us with the information. I just wanted to let you know what it is so you don't think this is something very strange. No, it's pretty easy. So he's making a post, like we said. So he's setting the value of the lamp to 1. Of course, when he unchecks, he's going to set it to 0. Don't forget the exit button. Otherwise, you can close it. OK, ready to test. Android again. So, turn it on, please. That's it.
You can see it. It's really, really easy to control any kind of things. Okay? Okay, lights or sensors, it's one line of code. Okay?
We'll continue on that.
Okay, we go to see it.
Yeah. So, turning the lamp on and off was very easy. Okay? What about collecting data? So we've seen the post part. Let's see the get part. So what we are going to do now is to show the temperature on the room. We're going to make a timer while he creates. I'm going to tell you what we are going to do. We're going to create a timer that will collect the temperature continuously every 3 seconds or something like that. And of course, he will update the screen with that. So he's going to need an action set real soon. Because, you know, to run a timer, you need an action set. You should know this if you're a Calypso user. OK. So he's make the request to the same IP address, of course, to the same port, but a different object. So to read the temperature, this is the object we need to pass. And we're going to do a get. So nothing changes here from the default. But in this case, we need to worry about the answer. Now, I won't get into much details for now. We'll just output the answer on a message box. So the value won't go to the label yet, okay? Because I want you to show you the format of the answer. Here comes the timer, every 3 seconds. That's it. So it's going to test on PC because we want to see the message box, okay? So wait for the timer, wait 3 seconds. There it is. What is this? JSON. So what's JSON? Basically, JSON means JavaScript object notation, and it's a data interchange format, meaning it allows you to exchange data between applications. What's the difference between JSON and XML? Its size. XML, it's huge, and this is much, much, much more lighter. And that's what you're going to see in most REST services nowadays. You're going to see JSON. I'm going to explain you a little bit what is JSON. JSON, it's usually an object, and an object is always between braces. An object has a name and has a value, always separated by colon. The value can be what you guys are used to. It can be a string, it can be a number, it can be an array, or even another object. In this particular case, we have an array. You identify it easily by the brackets. So if it has a bracket, it's an array. And inside, you can see it's another object because it has braces. In this case, two objects because it's separated by the colon. So inside, two pairs. These are called pairs, actually. Also, this is a pair. It's the name and the value, the name and the value, the name and the value. So what we want here, we want, of course, the value. And you can already guess the temperature here, 25 degrees. Okay? So what's the problem now? I need to parse all of this. Okay? Well, luckily for us, we have Calypso 4. So let's parse this automatically. Philippe. So we don't need the message box anymore.
Push, huh?
Safety. So we don't need the message box anymore. We need to get that first object that was called objects. So he's going to get the value of JSON. He's going to say the item name, which is objects. So what we are going to get in the target, it's actually the array. Okay? Remember, objects, colon, array? Okay. So now he's going to get the second item of the array, because the array had two items there. Or if you want to call it by its name, the array had an object with two pairs. So you're going to get the first item, which is going to return us those two pairs. Okay? So finally, he's going to get the value again. And what we want is the item called value. Notice he's keeping on and on. Don't save it, please. He's keeping putting the value on the answer variable. So basically, now save it, please. Basically, here he gets everything after objects. Okay? Here he gets the first item on the array. There was only one item. And then he gets directly, although he has more than one pair in that string, it doesn't matter because the name is going to be unique. So finally, he's going to change the value of the label. So he's going to divide it by 100. You saw it was 2,500. So to make the number in our unit, which is Celsius, we don't want 2,500. We want 25 degrees, of course. So wait 3 seconds. There it is, 25.5. And now Arsenio is eager to grasp that temperature sensor and eat him up. So let's wait. There it is.
26.
There it is. 26. Keep on holding.
Keep on holding?
Keep on holding. 28.
No, man. It's enough.
It's enough. It's going to burn. It's going to burn. Okay. So we just saw how to send data and how to get data from an IoT platform. But we can now mix it up a little bit, the concepts. We could use, I'm getting a little bit feedback. We're gonna mix it up the concept a little bit, sorry. We're gonna use sensors from the OS to manage the board. So, what Philippe is gonna do is something like, can you give me a phone, please? Okay. So, you want to turn on the light and turn off the light. Turn on the light, turn off the light. So you're going to use the orientation sensor of the phone. So we already know that Calypso has 11 sensors. Okay, Arsenio told you that in the beginning. I already told you you're going to use the orientation sensor. So Philippe is going to start by enabling the sensor. He's going to pick it up. If you want to leave it there a minute, expand it just for them to see the several sensors, just out of curiosity, so you can measure the steps. Actually, if you give me a second, we saw a use case of the pedometer. It was used to measure how many steps the users gave inside a factory. So they then registered those steps and optimized the routes with that. So here's an application for the pedometer. We want the orientation just like we said. Now, I won't get into much detail. This is very technical, but we just need to know the x-axis. We don't want the y and the z. So for this movement, the x-axis is enough for us, okay? Of course, when the form closes, it disables. So this is basically a rule. What you start in the opening form, usually you end in the closing form. So it goes without saying that your device needs to have these type of sensors, okay? So Calypso lets you access them, but you need the hardware, of course. And, well, he's going to create the event orientation sensor. You can see all the other sensors here, okay? So whenever an orientation change occurs, the event is triggered, okay? And whenever that happens, Philippe is going to check out, well, okay, was this turn up, face down, or face up? That's what you're going to do here with these ifs. I won't tell you in detail. It doesn't matter, okay? You just need to know down or up. So these are the values for turning it down, right, Philippe?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So this is to turn it in on.
It's 90 degrees and minus 90 degrees. It's when it starts sweeping down, okay? So 0, 90, 180, okay?
At this point, I don't think that's
important.
No. So he's having just a minor checking. So he's not going to turn the state of the button if it's already in the state that we want. That's basically what he's doing. So he will only change the state of the button if it's not already turned on. Basically, you could have here put the HTTP request again, but it doesn't make sense. It's already on the button, and we want the button to reflect the status of the lamp. Okay? So it's going to execute the process and not repeat everything again. You can basically copy that exactly. So that goes to false, and before you save, there you save, but then before the other save, please wait a little bit. Okay, can you go up? So here, like I was saying before, if your smartphone or any hardware doesn't have the sensor, this will return an error. So if you want, in these cases, you can just remove the error message. So the only, correct me, Philippe, if I'm wrong, but the only scenario where this returns an error if the sensor doesn't exist, right? So you can despise in this case if you want. But it's there for you to manage because you might want to warn the user, okay, this task won't be able to be fulfilled because you don't have the specified hardware for this feature. So this is a minor detail, but might be important if you begin to use this. So,
now, fingers crossed. Let's see.
Okay. Yeah, it's turned on.
Yeah.
He's just pushing the screen on.
Okay. So, we're using sensors now, okay, to turn on the light.
We're using sensors to control sensors.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's very easy.
So, we will proceed with something that we already seen today. But since the usage of it can be so much diversified, okay, we want to show you another usage of it. Yeah, I'm talking about the HTML control. Okay? Arsenio mentioned earlier today the graphics. We saw the graphics, okay? He mentioned also the gauge, okay? Like the thing that measures the speed or something like that, okay? That is not yet implemented on Calypso, but will be until July 13, like in the documentation you've received. But we can put it on our application using JavaScript from Google. Philippe, can you look on Google for graphics? Yeah, you need to find the browser first. Careful with the pages you open. We didn't implement this. We forgot. You wanted to break Arsenio's computer with this, but...
No, man, it's not my computer.
So, it's going to go for Google Charts. There's an API online for that. You can see a chart gallery, go there. And if you just browse, you can see several types of charts. All of these you can use. And this is just an example of what you can do with the HTML control. So we're going to use this, of course, like I said. And Philippe's going to copy the entire content of the HTML page. Basically, it's what Arsenio told you in the beginning. You can have offline web pages. Okay, they don't need to be online. So we're going to create an offline web page with all that content. Notice that this has a big feature. It's going to place it on files to send, so it means it's a resource of the project. It goes along with the project all the time, okay, whenever it's deployed.
Hello?
Right click.
The file?
File.
There it is.
There you go. This feature has a great advantage. Although it's an HTML file, like I said, it's offline, so you don't need the internet connection to do something like this, okay? When it runs. So, can you take off these, please, up there to make it more simple to read? Go to View, here. Show symbol. Yeah, take that off. Okay, perfect. So, Philippe needs to edit this file, okay? If you see here, it displays 3 gauges at one time. We just want one. So it's going to remove all the other 2, okay? This is all in the documentation like it would be expected. So 2 are off. He's going to change the label that we want to show in the gauge, its temperature. And basically, all this part that he's taking off, it's something that updates the page automatically. But we don't want the page to update itself automatically. We want to update it ourselves according to our standards, according to our interval, okay? And finally, he's going to do something that if anyone here tries to print with Calypso, probably already done. He's creating a uniquely identified string, a piece of text, so that he can load the entire text and then just replace this little string with the value we want to display. So that's what he is going to do now. He's going to save, and in our project, It's going to create the control, of course. I think it's enough.
Yeah.
Have you changed the width in the file to make it smaller?
No.
Otherwise, it's going to be too big. Here it is, 400. It's too big, doesn't make sense. So let's make it 200 to fit on the screen. Okay. So now comes the part that I was talking about. It's going to load the content of that file. It's going to save it on some variable. And now, he's going to write the value back again to a new file. Why to a new file? Because we don't want to mess the base file, of course, the basic file, right? We want to keep it there, and we want to create a new one with the value we want to display. So it's creating this new file where the value is the replacement of that little string we've created inside. Here comes the brackets, my temp, and now the value that it's on the label. So now he's assigning to the HTML viewer the file that he created, the temp2 HTML. So pfolder, you already know that. This is a syntax for opening files in a browser. No big deal there. Go ahead. So test it again. Need to test?
Yep.
So it's going to load in 3 seconds, as you already know.
Or not.
Or not. Open the action set. So you load, you save, and you replace.
Load folder temp.
Are you sure it's my temp you wrote?
It would have shown empty. Save folder temp2. Come on, guys, you are Calypso programmers. Help
Are
us.
you sure it's my temp? Open the file.
It's my temp, yeah.
Huh? No, temp
Yeah,
not
that's
HTML.
okay.
It's in the files to send, I think.
Yes.
Huh?
No, he's setting
set
the value.
It's a set value, that one. So let's just do some debugging here.
Double click.
Maybe it's because you have a file open in Notepad.
Maybe. Close the notepad. Try it, at least.
Okay.
Well, Notepad++, not a problem, but this Notepad, what do you have here?
Notepad++.
But you have something here open in the Notepad. Philippe?
I think
Let me just see if it's this device.
Put the string. Ah, that device doesn't have HTML5, Philippe.
Ah, it's
this
true.
is Windows 10.
Sorry, it's my fault. It's an old device. It's Android 4.1, so it doesn't have the latest
Yeah.
version.
Which,
Antivirus.
you have my phone there if you want.
Always allow. Let me see. Please behave.
So, this is an important topic, okay? The HTML control of Calypso only supports what the local browser on the device supports. So these are HTML5 functions, meaning if the device browser doesn't support HTML5, it will not work. So remember to test before you decide what you're going to do. So, as you can see, gosh.
So
now,
this is very good for static data.
Yeah, exactly.
If I want to show...
See? It keeps on refreshing. And every time he refreshes, he unloads the new page. Unloads and loads the new page. So how can we overcome this? Well, that's a great feature about the HTML control. I told you this was a great control. Because, like I said in the beginning, we are calling JavaScript functions. So if you check out what we've just copied, it was just a little bit of HTML, but it was all JavaScript, okay? And you can, in an HTML control of Calypso, call JavaScript functions that are in the page you are displaying. So, if we open the original file, we need to set it back to 0 because now we are not going to replace, reload, replace, reload. No, we are not going to do that. So it's set to 0, like in the beginning. Can you go to the Internet Explorer, please? Thank you. So you see here, remember the auto-update function, you can see it calls JavaScript functions. All we have to do is to copy this to Calypso. So Philippe is going to copy it. And he's going to call a new function called HTML run JavaScript, or JavaScript run, something like that. So, of course, we do not do these files load and file save content. Philippe's going to take that off also. So he's going to execute the JavaScript, and he's going to paste the code he copied. And he's going to replace this for the value we want to display. Which is the content of the label, if you remember. So before you save, by the way, let me just explain. You can capture the return value of these functions. Okay? Be careful. For you to call these functions and capture values and mention variables, etc., in the JavaScript of the web page, they need to be global. Okay? So this data variable, which is what we were calling, we were setting the values of data and then pass it on to the refresh, needs to be global. Is it better?
Yeah,
No?
but you must speak.
Even louder?
Yeah. Okay.
I'll try.
Okay.
So he changed the scope of the variables. Now they are all global, which means we can access them and call them in the JavaScript function that we just created. You can remove, because you've forgotten, the file load and save. They are no longer needed. So let's try it.
Open form.
Yeah, you need to set the value because now the value is always the same. So he's setting the value to the original file, of course, because, like I said before, now we are not keep on loading the file. No, it's always the same file. We just say to the page, run your JavaScript function. There it is.
Now it be?
Yeah.
Eat it up.
Again?
Again, just hold it. There it is.
Going?
You think it can go up to 30 again?
35. Better.
Okay.
So now we do not have any flicker. Okay.
Yeah, as you can see, it doesn't blink because the page is never reloaded. It just calls the function to redraw itself. So imagine what you can do with this, with all that you have available on the web. Okay, you can do many, many cool stuff with the HTML control. So that closes this part. And now I'm going to show you something that I'm sure you've never seen before. You want to say something?
Yes.
Yeah.
A second. Vou abrir este projeto.
Okay. Well, while you open, I'm going to talk a little bit, okay? Philippe?
Yes?
Okay. So, João Almeida talked to you about Windows 10 IoT. He talked to you about also Windows Universal Platform, okay? And he even told you that he could run Windows IoT on a Raspberry Pi. Remember that? Remember what he said? Okay. Why is that possible? Okay? Because, like he explained, they have several versions of Windows 10, but they all share the same core. So it means if one develops a universal application, Windows Universal Application, one can deploy that application to any Windows 10 platform. So,
Estamos a mostrar a placa, o projeto completo da placa para o pessoal ver o aspecto.
Okay. What happens with Calypso Windows 10 client? It's a Windows Universal application. So, it runs on any device with Windows 10. So, I have a tablet here, okay? Philippe, can you give me a hand?
Yep.
Okay.
Perhaps turn up the phones, no? And the volume.
That's right.
Wait.
Please. Yeah.
So, yeah, tablet with a cable.
Yeah.
It's this way we don't lose it, basically. This is not a tablet. Okay? This is a Raspberry Pi with a display. Okay? And this is Calypso. This is a Calypso application. So before explaining you any of it, I want you guys, the ones who have downloaded SysDev app, to get your phones. Okay?
And turn off the sound.
Wait, please.
Man, work slow.
So, open the app. After opening the app, please, like I said, you ask twice, turn up the volume.
You need internet access, okay?
So, just for us to know if anyone is ready, just raise your phone, please, for us to know. Okay.
You have the volume on, you have internet, go to piano.
Yeah, check it all, internet, volume. Okay. Once you do that,
Go to piano.
go to piano, please.
Piano option.
Speaks one or the three?
You speak.
Okay. So, go to piano. Don't touch it. And let's be quiet. Basically, we don't know if this is going to work. Okay? But let's be quiet to see if it does. Okay?
Obrigado, peraí. And on the piano application, turn on the switch that says remote controller. Turn
Exactly.
it on. Okay?
The RPI remote controller button needs to be on.
Is the remote controller on?
Thank you, Philippe. Let's try it.
Let's try it.
Do you believe it?
I hope so.
Arsenio, do you believe it?
3, 2, 1.
Silence.
Everybody's touching.
No, nobody's touching in the piano.
Yeah.
So George is controlling your smartphones
So-
with a Raspberry Pi. Yeah?
This has a couple of pinouts, input and output ports here on behind, and I'm pressing them. Whenever I do this, Calypso detects the status of the pin, if it's on or if it's off. It sends that information back to your phone, and your phone sees it's on, so he plays the sound of the corresponding keyboard. When it's off, he doesn't do anything.
Great.
Yeah.
And
So, first of all, it worked. So that's the good news. And now, Philippe is going to deploy an application directly to here right now. So I'm going to exit, okay? I'm on the synchronization screen that you all know, okay? Remember, this is Windows 10. He's going to generate the project file, so I can now pull it in. So I'm going to synchronize. Is processing and finished. So you've deployed demo board. And here it is, the application we've just done for controlling the board, remember?
It's turning on the light. Okay?
Yeah, turn on the lights.
The exact same application. So the same application, Windows 10, Windows 10 IoT, Android, Windows CE, Windows Mobile, desktop, without changing anything. Now, the message here is, we actually don't know where this is going, to be honest. Okay? This was a test that we want to make and share it with you because actually, we didn't do anything specific for this. I mean, we did a little trick to understand the pinouts. So it's on, so it's off, etc. But we actually want to know how you guys feel. So we want you to try it. We want you to tell us how you feel about something like this, okay? And maybe in the future, we'll give you direct access to these pins, okay? So feel free to comment and to try to build your own solutions if you need it.